Welcome, guys. We're just gathering together. We will start the presentation shortly. While we gather and wait for others, I ask people to post into the chat your word that says why you want to publish your children's book. Why are you doing that? So for me, I'm going to post the word legacy, because when I started with my children's book, it was a legacy project for me. So I wanted something that helped share the virtues and values that I wanted to live on long after I was gone, for my family, basically for my grandkids and their grandkids someday. So inspiration, Kira, nice, love that. Erica says purpose, wonderful, love it. I do help authors to self-publish their book. And a lot of times you can get sidetracked with traditional publishers or vanity presses. So if you got a contract that says you owe them money, it's not a traditional publisher, it's a vanity press. And so we'll talk more about self-publishing here, the importance about why this time of year is such a good time to focus on these challenges in this book that you've had in your mind and that you want to get out into the world. There's not a better time of year to do it than now, because we can get it published by Christmas, and we'll talk through some of that. So why should you publish by Christmas? What does that timeline look like? What are some potential pitfalls that you should be aware of that can happen around this Christmas time of year? And some of the keys to success. And with your permission, I will talk to you about the 90-day way and how I help you to go through this process and publish in time for Christmas. All right, so publish for Christmas. Christmas books that I've worked on have started selling as early as August, which is just blew me away. So that increased sales and selling period between August and December just gives you such an opportunity to focus on your Christmas selling season. There's a longer period. Books are such popular gifts. There's also lots of holiday themed promotions and events at that time of year, and you get to be part of a very cherished holiday tradition. I'm just joined here by Meredith, who's just wanted to share some personal experience. I know, Meredith, you don't have very long to be able to stay, but I'm so grateful that you were here and you're willing to share. So I'm just going to pause that and move over to spotlight Meredith for a little bit. And thank you so much for being willing to share a little bit about your own experience.
Yes, of course. And as far as a little bit of background, I took April's class last year. I had something deep in my heart years and years ago about writing a children's book. And then finally, my kids are a little bit older. I said, you know what, I'm going to do this. I found April through a mutual friend who actually also worked with her and published a children's book. So I said, I'm going to take this class and I am going to get this done. And of course, and I'm sure you guys are all in the same process. Nobody knows how to write a children's book, right? So many people come up to me and say, oh my gosh, I want to write a children's book. Everybody wants to do it. There's a lot of steps, and you really need someone to help you navigate those steps and also provide those resources to help you. So I'm so grateful and thankful that I found April. I found her course. It was really helpful, not only the process, but just also talking to other authorpreneurs, right? Isn't that the term that we use, authorpreneurs? It was really helpful to just listen to their journey, because everybody's journey is different. Your book is going to be different. Your mission behind writing your book is going to be different. So just being able to navigate with April and all the different resources that she has was really helpful, from, writing the book to having an editor to review your book, to trying to match you up with an illustrator. That was also a task, trying to find the right fit for an illustrator. And then the process, you don't realize how many steps are involved with writing a children's book, but also the marketing aspect of it, and trying to finalize, which is where I am right now, trying to finalize all the pieces and all the components to getting it into the printer, and looking for a printer and trying to figure out, where am I going to print? How am I going to print? So it's been a process. Writing a children's book is a process. It's a journey. I think tomorrow will be the day where I submit my final copy to the printer. So I'm super excited about that. But then that's when you really have to start grinding, right? I mean, you submit it to the printer, it takes a couple of months for it to come back, and then you really have to hit the marketing hard. So that's where I am right now, is trying to figure out marketing and what I'm doing with that. But as far as the class, and I'm not sure, I didn't get any background information on where everybody is in the process. I assume everyone's wanting to write a children's book, and they're curious about the process on how to do it and where to start, and they're beginning stages, correct?
That's right. Yeah.
I love how you kind of, put everything in order and what to do first and what to do next. It's really, I wouldn't have done it any other way, honestly, because and one thing I love about April, honestly, is that she holds you accountable. She will meet with you if you have questions, life, right? I'm sure a lot of you working full time, you have children, you might have grandchildren, you have all sorts of different responsibilities. So April's been really helpful with me anyways, to try to get me back on track. And anything else in life, with exercise or nutrition or any goals that you have, you always do better when you have somebody to do it with, and also somebody to hold you accountable and kind of be your cheerleader. And as I mentioned before, her resources are invaluable. She has so many resources, and she's been in the field for so long that I could not have done it any other way. So I'm super excited to get my book out. I'm super passionate about the message behind the book, and I'm excited for the next steps as far as the marketing.
Thank you so much, Meredith. We just happened to be meeting prior to this session, and she offered to jump on and come in and just share her testimonial with you guys. So I thought that was really nice.
Yeah, no, it's been fun. Like I said, I wouldn't have done it any other way. It's been a lot of fun, and go after your goals, go after your dreams. It's something that if it's laid on your heart and you really want to do it, sign up for the class. And think about it. By the end of the year, you can be a children's book author or an author. But if that's your goal for 2024, it's really not too late to do it, which is, incredible to say at the end of the year, you will be a published author. It's the only way to go. So thanks, guys. Yeah, fun. Happy writing. Thanks, April, for allowing me to come on. And thank you again for all the resources and support that you provided to me.
Congratulations on your publishing of your ebook that should be available tomorrow as well.
Yeah, I can't believe it. Right around the corner. All right. Bye, guys. Thank you.
Bye. All right. That was nice of her to do. Okay, so I'm going to jump back in for presentation. Okay. So we were just starting to talk about why Christmas is such a good time of the year to do this. I love looking at data, and somebody can tell me, oh, December or the holidays are like, you can sell more books during that time. But if you actually look at data, now this data came from an Amazon ads dashboard for one of my authors, Bobby Hinman. And if you see, this is over the last, 2 Christmas seasons, you can see some decent sales and then big jump in sales. Why? Because it's Christmas, November, December, Christmas season. And then there's some ups and downs depending on what's going on. But then again, big, huge jump for Christmas, right? So that's why this is just one of the examples. Her books are fairy books. And then she also released a Christmas one. So whether you're selling, books that are Christmas related or not, this is before her Christmas book, right? And then also with a lot of extra love and attention towards growing more and more visibility. So obviously, the more that you do with ads and other things, the more that grows. But you can really see the difference in Christmas sales. This is the next example that I have here just to demonstrate 13 times the amount of sales from October to December. Just amazing, right? So you absolutely can sell more books in the Christmas season. It is just a great opportunity for folks. I just want to give you a little short bit of information about me. So these are my whys right here, my little ones. And my word, when I came in, I asked everybody to just post a word about why you're publishing your book. And my word was legacy. And so these are my little ones. I absolutely loved children's books and reading children's books with them. I was going through a time in my life where 35 years in corporate America, I was bored. I felt like unappreciated in my job. I just was wishing and hoping to get to retirement, right? And counting the days. And I wasn't old enough to retire. I'm like, I'm just so blah. No, nothing excites me anymore. And anybody that knows me knows that is not a situation that I like to be in or I'm ever in. So one of the things I decided is, oh, I need a passion project. Once those grandbabies started coming into my arms and I would rock and read children's books with them, that bonding opportunity was just so amazing. And my little Labradoodle, Brady, would jump up on my lap, and it was almost as if he was like reading stories with us. He used to really enjoy it. And me and the grandkids would start making up stories, and we would, use our imagination. It's always important to me to get them using their imagination. And we started coming up with our own stories. And I thought, gee, maybe I should like write this down. I wonder if, you know, could a children's book be in my future? And I only really thought about it for them, but that turned into the Little Labradoodle series of books. Little Labradoodle Publishing is my publishing company that I created. We created a little mascot costume. I ordered that. I did book readings, and you can see how the kids love that little mascot. For me, it was about leaving them something behind, some values behind. But also for me, I really needed to get up in the morning knowing that I was doing something meaningful. And I didn't have that at my job anymore. That was the first time in my life that had ever happened. So we started publishing books, started doing this. And boy, it was not an easy thing when I first started. I'm 8 books in with a couple more coming. I'm actually getting ready to release a children's Christmas book this season along with my class. So we're going to go through that, and I'm going to actually go through the Christmas book that my granddaughter Kyrie and I have written together. So I just love the bonding, and that's really the focus of my stuff. But I loved this process so much, and I put it into the universe and said, Lord, I wish I could have an exit plan. Boy, I wish I didn't have to work in corporate America anymore. And it's so funny because when we are walking where we need to, and we're and aligned with our purpose, I feel like doors open. So I got the news shortly after that prayer. My apartment was getting released and was being absorbed by some other merger that was happening. And my heart sunk at first, but then I started getting really excited thinking about what I would be able to do with all of that extra time on my hands. And I was blessed with a 1-year severance package. So I got a year of my salary to focus on what I love to do. And so that was the beginning of my journey. Now, I started helping other authors because if I'm not making a difference, then I'm not happy. I really feel like I was put on this earth to serve and help others and serve my family. And releasing these children's books, they're children's books that are going to make a difference for kids. And when it came to authors who were having problems, I would be always like, hey, I'll jump on a call with you and see if I can help you get through it. And that turned into, gee, maybe part of that could be how I don't ever have to go back to my corporate job again. So Little Labradoodle Publishing was born. And I have been doing these kinds of courses and work groups together for the past 7 years now. So I love that. I love every day that I get to jump out of bed. And when my feet hit the floor, I know I'm going to have a meeting that day with an author, and I'm going to be helping make that author's dream come true. Today, you met with Meredith. She was here to offer her experiences, but we clicked publish on her ebook. And we're setting up her paperback. So I know that has been a lifelong dream for her. And I get to do that every day. So that's just my story, my backstory, and how I got where I am today. I love what I do, and very grateful to know that that's the kind of life that I get to live. I never, ever want to go to another cubicle again. I am a best-selling, award-winning author. I have helped more than 1,600 authors. I've ran more than $1 million in ads to help authors between my books and other people's books, and created, after 7 years of perfecting this, I have created a real opportunity and a streamlined service that just goes through every step of the process and makes it as easy as possible for you. I have a network of pre-vetted people. Your hand is going to be held through every step of the process. So let me go back and just give you a little bit of overview. Whether you work with me or you do this yourself, this is a basic format of what you're going to go through. You already probably have gone through and finalized your manuscript. So the writing usually incorporates, drafts and self-editing, and then looking for an editor, and then submitting your book to an editor. The editing process comes next. You're going to have a developmental editor go through it just to make sure that your book, the story arc is there, your character development is good, and that the flow of your story is where it should be. Always, always a developmental editor who is very well versed in your genre, so that they can help bring out ideas or things that you may want to consider that are specific to your genre that maybe you're not aware of because you haven't been writing in that genre for very long. Once your developmental edit is finished, there's line and copy editing. That's where things happen around, spelling and grammar and punctuation and all of that. And then a final proofread is also part of your editing process in the end, and copywriting your manuscript. So all of that kind of happens through the editing process. Illustration is so much fun, especially for children's book authors. If you're doing a chapter book, like the young lady here that's joined us, then you can decide how much illustration do you want to have in your book. Some authors I work with will do black and white illustrations, and they do, maybe one for each chapter, or they pick and choose. Some don't have any illustrations in a chapter book, but the picture book world, you are going to do a lot with illustration. So finding that perfect illustrator, which I'm happy to help you with. We also go through a storyboarding process where they show you all of the different aspects, beginning to end, of what they're thinking about for your book. You get to go through character development and sketches, and then coloring and cover design. So all of that we go through during the illustration process. Formatting starts typically with a template to your illustration, and then they go through the design process, which takes the words that you've got a copyright on and the illustrations, and puts it together in a beautiful, professional designed, well typeset book that you can be proud of. And so that formatting at the end, the output of this design and formatting process, are files that you can then upload to Amazon and to Ingram Spark. If you want to also send files and get bulk orders of printed hardcovers or things like that, you can also send to your printer as well. And then publishing all of this, going through pre-launch and uploads and making sure you get a proof copy, everything's looking good, that you launch your book well to a bestseller campaign, and that we get you that bestseller flag on Amazon, and that you also are continuing to get more sales for your book. Now you'll notice here that marketing is not a separate step that I put in here. It really starts, your planning and marketing starts at the very beginning and goes all the way through every step of this process. It's not something that you can isolate, and way too many authors make it more of a afterthought. Like, okay, I just click publish. How do I market the book now? It's not like that. You're starting at the beginning. And with my course, we'll talk through every step, and through every phase, there is some marketing activities that you're doing to build up and to prepare for your final book launch. So I'm going to pause here for questions. Does anybody have any comments or questions about this basic, just the basic steps of publishing a book?
So when you're at the process, like where I am finishing up the manuscript and then moving on to finding an illustrator, what's the best way to find the illustrator? And then the other thing is, at what point, because I know you talked about just a little bit, but at what point do you start the marketing?
Yeah, so yesterday, marketing through every step of the process. So when you're writing a book, you can be telling people that you're writing a book. You can post your challenges, your ups and downs on social media. that counts as marketing. Going all the way through every part of this process, whether you're just sharing and letting people follow along on your journey through social media, that's one thing. Typically around this area over here, we're working on putting a marketing plan together, which goes through your goals, what's your target audience like, and then do some research on some competitive analysis. Like all of that stuff goes into career marketing. Around this section and area over here, you're probably doing things like creating a press kit. You're connecting with people on social media, maybe influencers. You're putting together your description and your book blurb that you can start to use. You may be identifying people for an editorial review. You're identifying book awards and different places where you can promote your book. Bloggers that may do some book reviews and things like that, right? All through this process, you're moving through. And that's why with my program, every single week of the 12 weeks, there's a marketing activity that we hold your hand through. We give you some templates and tools. Going back to the illustrator, I found that this is one of the biggest places that people get stuck is illustration. And so as a part of being able to make that easier, I've put together a pre-vetted list of editors, illustrators, designers, marketing people, social media experts, video editors who can create trailers for you. So I have this amazing network of people that you can trust and that also understand this, that my program is a 90-day program. They must have quick turnaround. I also pre-negotiate special things that they'll do for my people. For example, the editor that I work with will do like pagination with you and give you illustrator notes and help you. And that's something that she normally doesn't do for anybody else, but that's an area that people have struggled with. And so my primary editor that I work with will do all of that at no charge when you work with her. So because you're coming from my author group, I also have an author illustrator contract so that whether you work with one of the illustrators I recommend or someone else, you have an opportunity to have all of the things that are going to protect you as an author in a contract that you can use for yourself, a contract template. It includes things like you own the artwork, timelines and milestones and things like that that we go through, and all of the legalese that you need to make good solid agreement. So if you join this program, you'll have my pre-vetted list. If you are just in general looking for ways of finding illustrators, I would say post in other groups. You can also find our freelance sites and that you can find illustrators, but it can be really tricky. I find the best place is in author communities to ask and to see if you can't get some recommended illustrators, because it's really difficult to get a really good illustrator and to know that you're not going to be taken advantage of. Things that I would ask are, how well has the illustrator performed as far as delivering what they said they were going to deliver when they said that they would have it by, because this is a tight timeline. And also, how's their communication, and are they able to create the specific type of artwork that you're looking for? So it's good to have references of that artwork. There's an association called the Society of Children's Book Writers and Illustrators, SCBWI. You could go onto their website and get recommended illustrators there as well. Okay.
Thank you.
So let's move on. All right. So some of the challenges because of the upcoming holiday, that you're going to have some tight deadlines, meaning that you don't really have time to have missteps, because a lot of times if mistakes are made and now you've got to take a couple steps back and then rework things, it's going to be a little difficult. So the tight deadlines can be an issue. Illustration delays also can happen, and that's why it's really important to have an illustrator that you can trust to deliver on time. Those that I work with know that this is a 12-week course. I expect the illustrations to be turned around within 6 to 8 weeks, and it can't go over that. Otherwise, you're putting your delivery at risk. So those illustration delays and working through issues can sometimes be challenge. We also have competing titles. Usually there's a lot of people releasing books in time for Christmas. So there's more inventory at that time. Occasionally you'll run into production delays or issues there. And then finally, challenges would be burnout because when you are trying to turn something around in a short period of time, then burnout can sometimes become a factor as well. So we try to work through these challenges and provide something that will help you and support you through all of this. So the keys to success, these are going to be things that you're going to need to create when you are publishing a book. Work with a team that is trustworthy and be able to hold them accountable to delivering. So having a solid plan in place is really helpful. Create a high quality product. You don't want to create something that is subpar or looks like it's been self-published. You really want to have a book that can stand beside any other traditionally published book and hold its own. The key to having good sales around Christmas time is to make sure that your quality is where it should be. And then take time to research and spend time on marketing, and starting right from the beginning, be considering those things that you need to do from a marketing perspective to make sure that when you get to that holiday season, you've got some really solid things. Here's one tip that you can do right now is start researching your local area for craft shows, book fairs, church bazaars, because they fill up really fast. And so if you need to get a vendor table and you want to sell your book at these events, you're going to need to be signing up for them now. So don't wait until we get too much further along, or there won't be any tables left. Also, when you are leading up to your Christmas sales, you want to have a really good launch, focusing on getting to that bestseller and making sure that you've got a launch team that will help you and help make your book more visible, that you truly understand your target audience and that you can do things to get your book in front of those people. So whether that means Amazon ads or whether it means Facebook ads or going to events and maybe doing live readings of your book, that you have to think of ways of getting your book visible in order to obviously to sell. Okay, so let's talk about the team. One of the things I said is get a great team that you can trust. So you want a professional editor, you want an illustrator that provides things in an art style that you are looking to get. Book designer is another person that you're going to want on your team as well. That's the person that's going to pull all of this stuff together for you. Other people you might need or might want to use is maybe a project manager or mentor who's been through the program, who's self-published before. Perhaps you might want somebody who knows how to do some videos for book trailers. Maybe somebody who's experienced with marketing if you feel like that is just not an area that you're an expert with. Social media person to help post so that you can focus on other things. If you don't have a website, maybe you need a website person. And I strongly suggest, if you're running in a lot of different directions and you're a busy professional with a full-time job, or a busy mom or dad who has lots of kids that you're chasing around, perhaps a virtual assistant who can help do some of these things could be really helpful as well. The quality aspect of things. A beautiful book cover. This is my latest book that was released called The Little Sister for Brady. You see the top third of the book is really focused on the title so that it's easy to see as a thumbnail. It's got beautiful illustrations, and my target audience will be really attracted to that. The story should be well edited and appealing to your target audience. It should have a professional design. Your book listing on Amazon should be professional, and your bio, book blurb that describes your book, all of the stuff that goes into your listing, it's important that you focus on the quality of what you're putting together there as well. So let's talk a little bit about illustrations and the key to success there. Once your editing is complete, that's when you should start with illustrations, not before. Now, you can start looking for an illustrator and just trying to find someone and interview them and maybe do some samples ahead of time. But you select your illustrator wisely, because that individual, if they don't turn things around quickly enough, it can end up causing delays. And there's also a lot of scams that are happening with illustrators. I find, and I've gone through this myself, where when I first started, went to Fiverr, which is one of those freelancing sites, and I hired somebody there. When they gave me my first sample, I asked to make a little change. It was drawing my Labradoodle. So I asked for a slight change, and then what I got back was completely different. Why? Because their initial thing that they provided, which was an image of a dog, was something that they had took off of the internet and tried to pass it off as their own. So when I said, can you turn his head this way and have him laying down, all of a sudden I had to create something fresh, and I got a complete disaster of an image back. There's a lot of people out there scamming. There's a lot of illustrators out there that will ask for full payment up front. I've got this special deal going on, half off, but you have to pay it up front. And then they disappear and you never see them again, and they don't respond to emails anymore, and they're taking people's money and going. And now there's a number of people that are just passing off AI stuff, telling you that they're drawing it themselves, and ends up being AI, and it's not consistent. There's just lots of things that can go wrong with illustrations. So just select your illustrator wisely, somebody that you can trust. That's why I started compiling my list of pre-vetted illustrators that do a phenomenal job for you. If you're looking to make sure that your book is going to be released on time, you're also going to want to reduce some of the complexity of your illustrations. If what you ask for is Disney Pixar 3D look and feel, that's a 6-month project. That's not going to be something that's going to be released prior to Christmas. If that's okay with you, then don't worry about it. Pick those beautiful 3D illustrations. But the style of illustration, there are things you can do to reduce the complexity. Maybe less characters, maybe less of a background, detail, or a different art style in general. Okay? Giving clear direction and feedback is really important to your illustrators. And also making sure that you have a solid contract and a timeline that's spelled out and that you continue to revisit, and so that you know that things are moving forward according to plan. Questions on this? Feel free to just take yourself off of mute if you have a question as I'm going through the slides.
I did have a question. You mentioned the professional editor. Is there one person that does all of the developmental, the copyright, all of that? Is there one editor that does all of that, or do I have?
Yeah. So the people that I work with, I do have a couple of my favorites that do all of those things. They do what they call a comprehensive edit, which starts with a developmental edit, and then they have the knowledge and the ability to do every part of it. There are others on my list that are just do proofreading, for example, or they just do line and copy editing. So you just want to make sure that when you do hire an editor, that you understand what kind of editing are you doing. Is it comprehensive? Are you a developmental editor? Most of the time, when you're hiring an editor, they're the line and copy editor. And that's why it took me 5 editors. I went through 5 edits before I found my go-to editor that I use for everything now. And she does a complete developmental edit and everything that I need. And at first I thought, oh, this is too expensive. I don't need that. I'm just going to go to these people that are going to charge me $50 to edit, because I didn't know what I didn't know. So the fact that you're here and you're listening and you're hearing, there are multiple different types of edits. So somebody that's going to charge you $50 or $100 might be doing only a portion of what you need. So just be aware of that so that you can make sure that you get somebody that can do a complete comprehensive edit for you. Okay. Another key to success, we talked about quality, is book design. So when I talk about a book designer or a formatter, I'm talking about the things that really make a difference. This book here is called I Will Always Love You, one of my authors. Beautiful illustrations, but also the typesetting and the formatting of this cover, including the cover fonts chosen, the different way that it's positioned. And you can see with interiors, a book designer and formatter will create some pattern pages for you if you want them for your book, so that when you open it up, it's pretty and it matches everything. And the way that they use words and apply with your beautiful illustrations can make all the difference in the world to really have your book stand out and be something that is truly exceptional, that you can appreciate and be proud to call your own, and will stand against any traditionally published book. And when we've got the first draft of the design with the cover and the interior, it goes back to the editor for a final proofread, and that's the last piece of the puzzle for the editor. Research and marketing, these are the areas to pay some attention to. Know your target audience. Really understand their pain points, what they're looking for, and how your story will appeal to that target audience. Also know your competitors. Take a look at some and research, even just going to your local bookstore or library and say, look, I'm looking for dystopian stories for this age group. What would you normally recommend if people were asking for that? And check those books out. See what you can learn and understand on what are they doing. Do lots of reading in your genre. Learn about keywords and categories, and also don't save marketing till the end. Actually go through this process each step of the way and launch strong, and make sure that you're using advertising in order to make your book launch successful. Here is what my 90-day process looks like. All right, so if you're publishing a book in 90 days, which is what my 90-day way focuses on, here's kind of the weeks and how the process takes place. And we've gone through a lot of these things as we've talked about things from the planning and editing to the illustrations to the design and the publishing. There's lots of different things that happen each step of the way. One of you had asked questions about what type of marketing stuff happens all along the way. So the marketing plan, here's the press kit, you're connecting with influencers and getting set up with pre-orders. So you're talking about your pre-order that's coming up, and you're also focusing on publicity and marketing and working on getting that sales and marketing plan and executing on the plan for yourself. So there's all of these things will happen in that 90-day period. So I wanted to just take a moment here just to ask you to put something in the chat for me. What are your thoughts, your fears and doubts about whether or not that you will be able to actually go forward and do this yourself? Some people are worried about their book quality, for example. Is my story good enough? Do you have any fears and doubts? Okay, so Lavada says, what if you want to be your own illustrator? I actually do have quite a few author illustrators that I work with, and that's not a problem. If you want to illustrate your own book, I just wonder about the timeline. Are you going to be able to turn it around as quickly and with the quality that you would want for your book? So if you have that skill set, I'm very jealous, and I think that's a wonderful thing.
Is it possible to, why do you have to focus on publishing in December? Is it possible to publish? I'm trying to understand why the focus on targeting December, as opposed to I can publish now, let's say publish in November. Why can't I? 3 months is still before December.
Yeah, so what I would typically do is my focus would be trying to get published within the August or September timeline. So you have plenty of time to market and build up your sales prior to Christmas and take full advantage of the Christmas selling season.
Is there anything like publishing but not start selling, and you want to keep it and start selling next Christmas, next year?
You could. Yeah, I mean, if you're not really concerned about getting published by Christmas, everything that we go over is still going to work. In the grand scheme of things, you're just not going to be in a hurry, or you're not going to be focused on Christmas sales. You'll just be focused on launching your book in a way that makes sense for you. And if that means taking extra time, that's perfectly fine. If it means that you want to publish faster, that's fine as well. I just think most often people who want to make sure that they're able to take advantage of the holiday selling season need a little bit of help understanding what that timeline is going to look like.
Oh, I got you.
Okay. All right. So let's just, one of my authors, Dottie Lee, her question when I asked this was, is my story good enough? And that's quite often what people are concerned with. I was when I started with my book as well. She worked with an editor, and don't forget, your story doesn't have to be perfect. You have an editor who is very well versed in your genre and is going to help take your voice and your words and turn it into something that is exceptional. Dottie is now releasing her second book and working on her third. She was a bestseller at launch, and this is Frances Flamingo, Prima Ballerina. She's had consistent and increased sales right along and is getting ready, as I said, to release her next book. Without a whole lot of push towards marketing her book, she is getting consistent sales. So for her, when we looked at things at sales and marketing numbers, she was selling, 4 books, 6 books, 8 books a day. And that's a really good start for somebody who's just launched a book. Some people ask, well, if this is my first book, can that really even make money? And when I look at Bree Turns, who released this book, I Will Always Love You. And you can see the 30-day revenue for just her hardcover is $7,940. She has also her paperback book. It adds an additional $5,420. So over $13,000 per month on a book that was released in 2020, and it's still holding strong and steadily getting sales. Why is that? Because she created a beautiful, high quality book. She has a great understanding of her target audience, and it's a keepsake book that just continues to drive sales and attention. This is Pat Dana, who worried that potentially maybe it's too late for her. She was approaching 80 when I first met her, and she said, I have a bucket list item. I want to write this story. And it was based on a true story and meant to honor somebody who worked as a conductor on a little mini train called a dinky. Now that book has gone from 1 book to now 3 in the series, and she's released this beautiful book. And this woman who had never really written a book before, just had a dream to publish and wanted to do this and cross it off a bucket list, has now turned into an authorpreneur who's able to go in and manage her books, upload new books, even manage her own Amazon ads. And that is no small feat. And it's all part of growing as an author. So 3 books and counting. And it is not too late, and you're not too old. You're also not too young. I have a whole group of kid authors that I've worked with that are doing great things with their books. So if you are ready to feel like this when you publish your book, with your permission, I'll just give you a little information about the program that I have starting in June. So it's going to be coming up next week. There's not a lot of time left, but I want to give you an opportunity. Let me just get this to let me move on here. My program that I'm going to be talking to you about today is called the 90-Day Way, and we're starting on June 4th. It meets on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and there are 2 different time slots you can take advantage of. I have a 1 o'clock afternoon session, and this is Eastern time, or an 8 o'clock session. And again, 8 o'clock on Tuesday and Thursday. So you get me for 90 minutes twice a week. You also get video on demand, 1 module every week that you go through on your own. You get all of the tools and templates that will help you, along with a workbook that helps you take you through every step of the way, and a private Facebook community and support through the process. So you get the hand holding that you need through the 90 days. Here's a kind of a sample of some of the things that are in my resource library. Things like over 700 Kidlit influencers, your marketing plan template, your checklist, author illustrator contract. I won't read every single thing here, but just know that I've been doing this for 7 years. And every time somebody's stuck with something, and I think, okay, we need to do something to fix that so that doesn't happen again. They get the hand holding through it, but then a tool or a template or an idea that they bring forward during feedback will get implemented into the resource library as well. Okay, if you sign up within the next 24 hours, I'm gonna do something special for you. These bonuses are worth $2,600. Instead of just getting 90 days, I'm going to extend your 90-day way. Is going to end up being all the way through, and you're going to get 6 months of time with me. So instead of ending at the 3 months prior to Christmas, it's going to extend all the way through the end of December. So that's worth an extra $15. I'm also going to give you a one-on-one marketing strategy session so that we can build your marketing plan together. I have website templates available for those who don't have a website yet and who want to create one. Access to my Authorpreneur Summit series, which is a bunch of additional educational elements that are available to you, and an evaluation of your manuscript that's worth $199. Also, illustrator matching, which I will personally work with you to identify the type of style that you're looking for and work to help match you with an illustrator that will walk through and provide you with what you need. And we do that through requesting samples and getting the illustrator samples back to you, and then selecting the illustrator. And then above and beyond this, instead of the $19.99 that I normally charge for the program, within the next 24 hours, if you sign up, you are going to be able to use a coupon code that will give you an additional $500 off. So that will give you the whole program for $14.99, and that will extend you all the way through Christmas and beyond. Take a pause to go ahead and open up for questions. If anybody has any questions you'd like to ask, now's the time.
Yes.
Go ahead.
It's $14.99 potentially for your services.
That's right.
What is the average cost of your subject matter experts, your illustrators, your editors? What is their range of their costs? Because I'm certain that includes your services and theirs is extra.
Yeah, so you will, as a part of the program, you're going to connect with those experts and you're going to get the help. So let me give you kind of a little summary. That's a great question. For a comprehensive edit and all of those things with my favorite editor, you'll pay $325.
Okay.
If you're the average illustrations, probably looking at anywhere from say 2,000 to 3,200, depending on the style and what you're using. So you're going to want to, work with someone, and depending on the style, you can get the different quotes and select an illustrator that best fits within your budget. And then the design efforts will be $6.99 to go through all of the design and formatting of your book. Everything else will be covered in all of those things we talked about.
Okay. And then I have another question. You own the publishing company.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any stipulations about who you accept to publish? Do you have guidelines, or do you accept anybody?
So here's the thing. I don't publish your book.
Mm-hmm.
What I do is help you publish your own book. So even though I have a publishing company that I publish my own books in, I have not yet opened that up to saying I'll publish other people. And someday in the future, I will do that. I'll accept submissions, and then I would pay the cost of all of the stuff, like if a true traditional publisher. So I'm not a hybrid press. I'm not going to sell you on, spending a whole lot of money to have me publish your book. what I feel really strongly about is that you can publish your own book. You can keep 100% of the royalties. Those royalties get deposited in your own account. So you don't need a publisher middleman that's going to divvy out and take your royalties and then send you a portion of those back. You've got this. With the hand holding, you can become that authorpreneur professional. And whether it's one book or a dozen, you can do this.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Any of my students here that are ready for our next session, that maybe if you would be interested in maybe providing your experience and how that's worked for you guys, I'm happy to open up. Go ahead, Michael.
Yeah, I started in January, and I had no idea how to do any of this stuff. It really is drinking from a fire hose at the beginning. It's a whole new world, and there's so much more than you think there is to do. It's more work than you think it's going to be. I'll say that right now. But I've learned a lot. I've had a good time doing it. Yeah, this gives you a blueprint. It's like a playbook on how to do this stuff. And it's hard to do it first. You have to figure all this stuff out. But once you figure out, oh, this is how you do this step and this is how you do this step, it becomes much easier the next time you're going to do it. I mean, I would advise anybody who does this to do more than one book. Like, use this as as a real course to build a skill that you can take on and do more than one book. Because, like that draft book, what was it? I Will Always Love You. I mean, there's always rock stars that hit it out of the park, but, there's a million people that have tried and not all of them hit like that. But if you do a good job, I think once you build the skills and do a good job, you should be able to be consistent and then make your money back and do more and do more and do more and do more. That's my goal, at least. And that's what I'm working on, building my systems up right now.
So have you found that the class is giving you the resources and the instruction that you've needed to be successful, Michael?
Oh, for sure. I didn't know how to do any of this stuff when I first started. April gives you a list of editors. She gives you a list of illustrators, a list of formatters, and all these people. Because I don't know about y'all, but if you go to Fiverr, there's a million people on there to do stuff, and I don't even know what to tell them to do,
Right.
or at that point, I had no idea even what to ask them that I wanted. All I knew is I wanted pictures, but I had,
Yeah.
It, it's nice to have the handle for sure.
Thank you very much for sharing that. You can feel free to ask questions if you'd like of Michael or other students that are here. It just so worked out that their 90-day way session follows this. So you guys are, because I was running a little late, you guys ran into their session. So I know we have Christina here as well. And Christina, you can feel.
Hi, April. Hi, Michael.
Go ahead.
Yeah, just like echoing what Michael said, it's been super helpful. Sorry, my camera is like being weird. So sorry you guys can't see me. It's been an incredible help having, the hand holding, having the vetted list that April has, like Michael said. Like, I didn't know where to start. Like, I didn't know what to ask illustrators. Like, you need one, but like, what exactly do you need to ask them? You need this, but like, in detail, like what do you need to ask? And April lets you know all of those things. And then the work group that you're in is super supportive. Everybody is really supportive. It's been extremely helpful. And April has also said this, like, you're going to get out of it what you put in, right? So if you don't put that much time into it, you're going to get as much as you put into it as well. It's a lot of work. And if you don't have a certain amount of time to dedicate to it, not to say you can't do it, but the quality and what it is that you're doing will vary. And also how long it'll take you to get to the finish line will vary depending on how involved you are in the process.
Thank you. That's good insight. And it's more than just the $14.99 investment in me and educating yourself. You are going to need to budget for a professional illustrator unless you are illustrating your own book. Some people decide, I'm going to do things. I'm just going to learn how to do it. And I might go with a lower budget, but it's okay because I'm doing this for the practice of, going through this and learning how to do it so that I can do it better the next time. So working within your budget is really important, but also if you expect to get sales, if you can budget total spend between my class, your illustrators, your editor, and your designer, the neighborhood of $5,000 is about what your investment will be. Okay. Now, if you're talking about chapter book, I know we have one young lady here who's doing a chapter book. The editor will probably be a little more than $320, but if you're not including illustrations, then you can scratch that, and you just need to make sure you budget for a cover design, right? So that's a much lower case as far as investment goes.
So that could be about roughly how much is one looking at?
Yeah, so I'm going to just show you something. This is one of my author's books called Starlight Keepers, and it's, it is a fantasy book, and it's got lots of words, right? So it's not a picture book.
Right.
I want to show you what they decided to do with their illustrations. And so if you're not doing any illustrations on the interior, then I would just budget for a couple $100 for a good cover. If you want to do illustrations inside, let me just find a page that has an illustration. So here's an example of like a black and white illustration from this world, this fantasy world, right? You've got this little goblin that's, I think probably $75 for that illustration. If you're looking at more complex color illustrations, it's different, but the editing, I think it depends on the number of words. So, but it's going to certainly be more than editing of a picture book, which is very different. Here's a full spread that has this dinosaur here with elf woman and the other protagonist riding a flying pterodactyl, right? So that's probably, $200 worth of illustration there because of the deep level of detail. And then the design of it would be probably still the $6.99 because they're formatting and doing all of that, and it's much longer manuscript to format.
So for that one, you just showed us roughly how much did it cost to publish and everything.
It's better for you to think about like what you're going to do with your book, because they had a lot of illustrations in their book. Are you going to do like one illustration per chapter, or so I would take just for a round figure, think about how many illustrations you'll have and count $100 per illustration for the interior. And that's a high end.
Yeah.
Add a couple $100 for the cover illustration, and that'll give you that. Your editing really depends on how long the book is. So connecting with your editor and going through that, but I would probably budget $1,000 for editing, and I think that would be okay. It might be much less, but it really depends on the type of story and how many words is in it and the level of effort that it requires for the editor. Okay. So for those of you that are interested in moving forward, I'm putting in here a coupon code that you can use for the $500 off. It's Early Bird 2024, all capital letters with the words 2024, selfpubmadesimple.com, and I'm going to the link to the Author Accelerator. That is the link where you'll find more information about the course and your ability to purchase the course and use that coupon code to get your $500 off. And there are options in there to break it up into monthly payments, 4 monthly payments or 4 payments, either through Afterpay or PayPal Pay Later. And that can help you break it up a little bit. And it gives you 0% interest on the 4 payments. So that could be helpful for you. Any other questions before we let you go?
I'm sorry, you're going to send us the link to sign up in an email, or I'm sorry, how are you going to send it?
Oh, sorry, it's in the chat here. Do you see the chat? But I will also follow.
Oh, I do. I see it.
Okay. Because for everybody that has been here and attended this session, I will also be sending you an email with a link to the replay and also the additional information that you need in order to complete your order. Okay. It's coming up fast, June 4th. I'm excited. We're going to have an awesome opportunity, and I really look forward to being there to help you realize your dreams. Have a wonderful evening, everyone.